It's Nancy welcoming you to Garden Scroll. While our weather was cool and rainy, I actually clipped back some of my coleus and I put them in various places in the garden that needed a little bright spot, like this one. And some just because it had an empty spot in the pot and it helped fill it out. So this one looks good in this place, and I hope they will make it. I think they will, because we're still going to have a little bit cooler weather even after our rains quit. So hopefully they'll build a little root and then they'll be fine. And I did clean up the spot where I had things growing that I didn't want, which were mostly these celotias and these pretty little pink globe flower, Strawberry Fields globe flower. So and I did put several right in this little area, and I'm hoping that maybe they will just go to seed and come back there again next year, which they have a good chance of doing that. They do that pretty readily as long as the ground is where it will take a seed and come up there. Sometimes I have the weed control fabric where they can't do that, but right here I think they can. I've been trying to get this creeping Jenny going here, and actually had it going really well until we took our tree down and just got sawdust all over the top of it, and so it's kind of struggling. As a matter of fact, I had to transplant some of this here in the front of it, but I think it'll go ahead and grow together and be pretty in days to come. And this is also one of the little celotias, all of these that I transplanted, and I transplanted these right in actually it was still raining a bit when I transplanted, and they didn't even go into transplant shock. I had a couple of them that were a little bit wilty looking the next day, but they picked right up. And also the coleus, I actually didn't do them as far as to clip them off and try to get them starting a new root until the rains had slowed down a lot. They were just misty, but I think we still have a good chance because I did this yesterday, and today they're still looking like they're standing to attention and looking good, and hopefully they'll go ahead and build their little roots. This is another one that I clipped off and put over here, and then this is one that I pulled up and just transplanted, as well as this one and another one of the little strawberry fields. So, and this is one of the little coleus that I just clipped off. This does not have a root. It's just sitting there in the ground, but it will make its root, and it won't take it long, unless of course the heat comes back too strong for it before it does get their root built. And then, as you know, if you've watched some of the previous ones where I tried it and that happened and they just all died, they're going to have a little bit cooler weather, and they're going to have to stay nice and wet to build that root. But right now they have a good chance of doing that, so that's what I'm hoping will happen. And I'm thinking that this right here is a weed. I'm going to go ahead and pull that up. And I think these that are growing here beside it are the little zinnias, either Profusion or Sahara. And some of these are, I think this middle one here, it's probably a zinnia, and the two on either side of it is probably a purple globe flower. So we will see if I'm right on that. But the rains have definitely done the plants well. They've enjoyed it. They've loved it. Look at this little alyssum. It's already filling out its pretty flower and trailing down. And that was planted from a seed. This is another one of the coleus that I trimmed down so it would be out of this little angel's face, which I'm going to have to get a little garden staple and staple the purple heart wandering Jew out of her face too. But isn't it beautiful? And I told you it might not take it long to go ahead and come right out when I just put little tiny starts there, and definitely it hasn't taken very long, and it's looking great. As well as this other little wandering Jew that I put in here. It looked so bad, like kind of like this little piece right here was just dying, and I actually just put some rooting powder on them and poked them back down in the ground. Let's see if this one is hooked onto something here. Yeah, it is. So that's a good thing, because that little stem doesn't look very healthy, but if it's hooked on and has a root somewhere, I think it will be fine. So, and it looks great too. And I tried earlier to take some clippings of my copper plant. I wanted to give one of those to a friend of mine, but I'm not sure how it's doing actually. So here it is. Look, there's a little bit of life there, but nothing to speak of. Oh my, I should have waited until we had our cooler weather and rains to try this one, but who knew? Who knew we'd have cooler weather or rain like we've had it? But it's been so wonderful, and I'm going to hope this will still come out of it. We'll definitely give it every chance to. And as I'm looking a little closer to it, I can see that there's a pretty healthy green right here at the bottom. So sometimes that's all they need, is just to get a good start, and once that little root gets going, they will just do great. So I'm hoping that will happen, and I'm hoping I'll get to give this little pot and its little plant to my friend Oma. Here's where a couple of little clippings got put, and right now they're looking great. I hope they will stay that way, because this did look kind of dull and bare, but with those in there it just topped it off to draw all these other colors together and look good. I did not excuse me, I did not trim this little coleus. It was just getting started good, and after these rains, oh my goodness, it's taken off and gone like crazy. So I'm not sure, I should have trimmed it back some, but right now it just looks so good and so healthy. I wanted to leave it and see what it will do. My little calabachoa is not looking so great this morning. I hope it will still do well. I also did not trim this one off. It's just so bright and beautiful that I hated to trim it, but it does, now it stands a chance of just becoming tall and spindly, which I won't want that either. I want it to be bright and wide and thick and pretty. Look at this beautiful polka dot plant. I probably should have took some little clippings of those and got those started somewhere else too. This one and the pretty white one back here. But I didn't. I may still try to do that today, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure how the weather is going to hold out, and if it's going to be sunny and bright, it won't be such a great time for me to try to start them, because even when it was a little bit misty out here, it wasn't cool enough really for me. I was about to burn up and had sweat pouring everywhere, just clipping these little clippings off and putting them in rooting powder and putting them in a pot where I needed something. Looks like I need something right there too, and I may end up taking some of these polka dot plants or a little clipping of a coleus and putting in there and hoping that it will make it. And I noticed while I was talking to you that this one little purple heart was dying, and I'm going to take it out of there. It's not good to leave the dead ones in there. They'll just cause snails to say, yummy, let's crawl up here. So I don't want that. Remember how scraggly this little pot of purple heart was? And now it's filled out, and yet also this one got nipped by the heat and the sun, and you can see the brown curls on it. I need to come out here and clip all that off of it and give it a chance to shine, because it surely can. And this is where another one of the little cuttings went. Oh, I hope these will put down their root and go, because they certainly add a little extra something that this pot needed. And this little pot got a couple of the coleus clippings, and I can tell that they're a bit wilted right now, but hopefully, you know, they've been making their root for a night and a day, so hopefully they'll get a chance before the heat gets back to them really strong. I'm going to look right back here, because my sister Rosie gave me a tiny little aloe vera plant. Oh, look, Rosie, how it's grown. How about that? I also put a little cutting in this one of a coleus, and it's looking all wilted right now, but I'm still giving it hope. If it just gets its root, sometime you can even clip off the stuff that's wilted. If it just makes a root and begins to grow new healthy leaves then or foliage, then it will go ahead, and usually it will look beautiful. This little pot got a little clipping. And this little pot got a little clipping right here. This little IRSINE, Ursine. I'm not sure how you pronounce that, but it gives some pretty color to a pot, and I think that that color always brings out the beauty. Looks like I'm going to have another hibiscus in the morning maybe. So grateful, so thankful to God for the rain that we got and the cooler weather and the chance to put in some of these little clippings. Here's another couple of little clippings. Just what a difference it made in these pots that just needed a little something more. And now hopefully they can go ahead and fill out and be beautiful. You know, I told you this little pot, the seeds I planted in it are coming up pretty nicely, but this little pot had nothing in it, and I planted a little seedling in there that's already disappeared. So I planted one of those little ursines in it too, so there's just a little bit of color now in this pot. If I can, I may try to plant another little profusion zinnia or something in there. I'm about to use all my profusion zinnia seeds, and I had so many, but so many of them just didn't sprout, just didn't make it. You know, I told you that I was going to do a little pot of, and start a copper plant for my friend Oma, and this is the other one that I started for myself, but neither of them, as you can tell, are doing very well, but they still do have potential. They still could come out of this and be beautiful, so I'm hoping for that. This little pot was practically empty except for this little marigold that's growing right on the edge of the pot. So I put a few of those little clippings in it. And that rain has made some of my zinnias just really take a leap upward. Oh, I wish you could smell these because the scent is beautiful and strong. I am quite spoiled to not having to come out and water every day. And I got some rest and I got a few things done. And it was just wonderful. So it's going to be all that much harder to come out and water every day, and I'm sure the heat will be back and we really won't know how to handle it then, but with God's help, hopefully we'll make it. Remember I showed you how this one, it may even be on this same post, or it was on the previous one, but how wonderful it was doing after the rain. And here the rain has only been gone for a day, and we got a little bit of mist today, and it's already looking like it's curling up and trying to quit again. Luckily these little ones are still trying to look good and still staying healthy for me, and I hope they will continue on and just become great beauties for this fall. I just now noticed that this darker phlox is blooming for me today. I had noticed that some of the lighter, the one that's called Laura phlox, is blooming. This one does the very best for me. It just keeps on going, whereas most of my others have, well, all of them have been turning back to this color or real similar to it, but hopefully I'll get enough going that they won't just all be one color, because I would love to have many of the different colors of phlox in the garden. I also clipped off some of my sweet potato vine, and I'm trying to re-root it, but as you can tell right now it doesn't have a root and it's really hanging down low, but hopefully it will pick up and go. The same with these little clippings back here behind it, which will really fill this pot out. I think I had another plant there too actually, but they died out, so hopefully these will go ahead and make a root and grow up tall and beautiful. And I had two little castor beans come up, so I put one of them in front. And just a few minutes ago I went around front and realized that the snails and or roly-polies have totally taken it down. It was beautiful and healthy when I put it there. Not quite as big as this one, but very pretty, and all that was left was a little bit of the stem and a little bit of one leaf. So that's discouraging that that's the way it happened. I did find a hibiscus today that I actually put in its place, and we'll see how it will do. I'm going to look just in case. I might have had another one to come up here, but I did not. I see I do have some grass growing around it there, so I'll pull that up, but no more Easter bean. But we'll have this one, and that'll be great, and maybe that little hibiscus will do fine in the front. I just had hoped actually that it would grow tall and be able to shade some of my plants that need shade. Remember when I said this little pot was looking a little bit bare and colorless? Well, that's not the case now. Just those, I thought these little collies would really shine, and they're already beginning to. And my I thought this was the pale pink, but actually it's the brighter pink also, but it still looks great in there, and it's doing wonderful. The whole pot is really beginning to show off for me. I love that. And this pretty fan flower is still looking good. It doesn't look great. It doesn't look all full and beautiful, but it is looking good. It's looking healthy enough that it could take off and go. I wish it would. I wish this little calabachoa would, as well as this one, but they're just kind of barely holding on. They're not doing much. Oh, but I wish they would. They could be gorgeous, but they could kind of scraggle along like this too. We'll see what they'll do. Luckily, this one is still looking great. And here is where I took out some of the little cuttings that I used to put around in different places, and it still looks great. It's still full, and I think it will even help these to fill out even more and not grow just tall and cover her up, but just grow thick and beautiful. This little white flower is also a fan flower or scaviola, like the purple one that I just showed you. And this one is filled out and looking good. I don't know if it'll stay that way all through the season, but I'm hoping it will. It looks like this little pot may have too many. I may need to transplant some of these and give it some room to grow, and that'll fill up some of the other places where they didn't go ahead and sprout and come up for me. So that'll be great. If I can transplant them, we'll have to see, because you know, in the summer's heat they don't transplant well. Usually all the planting and transplanting needs to be done in the spring and in the fall. This little new flower that I found is looking great. It's kind of like a cross between a penta and a periwinkle. The foliage looks like a periwinkle, and the little flowers look a little bit bigger than a penta, but real similar. Oh my goodness. As I reached around here to see if maybe I left the little tag to tell you what it was, I'm seeing this, which looks somewhat like maybe a bird's nest. So I'm not going to bother that right now, and see if I can tell what will become of that. Look at this beautiful trailing Vinca, how pretty, or periwinkle. So pretty. I need some more of those little tiny, well, they're like this, this little plant stand, only they're just miniature plant stands, but they're perfect for things like this that's getting lost in the foliage. And if you can, they set it up about 4 or 5 inches, and that would just be great. And I can't seem to find any more of them. I was finding them every year at our local, I think it was the Family Dollar. I get the Dollar General and the Family Dollar mixed up, but I just have not been able to find them in the last couple of years. But they certainly came in handy. The dahlias are filling out even more. Don't they look great? And I've got to get out here and spray too for those cucumber beetles and any other bug that may be eating my blooms, because I want them to be beautiful, and I know they're out here. So I want to get rid of those. I did spray them once, but I read that you should spray them with a spray that says on it that it will kill cucumber beetles, and to spray it 2 to 3 times. Well, 1 time a week for 2 or 3 weeks. So that's what I need to do, is to spray it probably twice again. This is one of the little coleus that was getting pretty tall, so I took a couple of pieces from this and put in different places. Look at this beautiful daylily. But much will need to be done because you can tell these are the daisies that have just flopped over because they're tall, they got wet, they fell down. They're needing to have the old spent flowers taken off. So there will be a lot of work to be done out here if I'm able and up to the task, which I'll do as much of it as I can. Look at this beautiful Princess Diana clematis. Isn't that a beauty? It loved that rain. You can tell how much it loved it. This is another little coleus that I took some clippings from, but looks like I should have probably taken even more because it's probably going to get bigger than that little pot can handle. But it's just so pretty, it's hard to take them away. But then actually if you do, they're able to grow fuller, and then you have a chance of starting a new little plant. Not that they always work, as you know if you've seen any of my posts from previous times when I've tried it and the sun just came out before they made their little root, and it was just not a good thing at all. I don't know if I got that little rabbit that just ran through. He's been out here. Actually, I actually caught one of them, and then another one just came and took its place. Let me get some of these old ones off of here. I got a few off for you so you could see the beauty, but I didn't get them all by any means. So there's all the old ones there too, but there's so many new beautiful ones. And actually I put one of those little earth sign clippings in here too. If it'll make a root and grow up with that, I think it'll be very pretty. This is one of the little strawberry fields that I put in here, and it's wilted down, but it has a root, so I'm thinking it hopefully if it doesn't get too hot for it, it'll be able to go ahead and straighten up and be beautiful. I still have a little bit of larkspur and the yellow yarrow. I love these two colors together, and I love these two plants together since they are those colors and they bloom around the same time. Look at this beautiful impatiens. Isn't that gorgeous? It just filled out. This is the back side of it, and it'll come around the front. It's filling out so pretty. You can really tell how much it loved that the rain and the cooler weather too. So here is my little hibiscus where my castor bean little seedling died out. So hopefully it won't die out, and hopefully it'll be beautiful there. I'm not sure what color it is. I'm thinking it's probably some type of an orange. I don't know if it's all orange, but we'll see soon when it blooms. This pretty Kong coleus has also taken a leap. It's actually not grown very tall. It has grown a little bit of height, but mostly it's just filled out and gotten wider and just thicker and prettier. And also the vines have taken on a growth spurt with this rain and cooler weather too. Also, I noticed that I do have a little seedling right here coming up, and I think this is one of the silver sage that looks kind of like a lamb's ear, only shorter, and it just kind of makes a great big bow type of a flower. Very pretty. So even though some of the little flowers are waning from the way they were this morning when I first showed you today, but even though they have such a wonderful chance now just because of the rains, and we're so lucky to have had those wonderful rains. We got 4 inches and a little more than 4 inches, so it was great, very wonderful to have it. I can see this little plant right here is just getting scorched by the sun, though. I don't know. I'll probably have to move it somewhere. I don't really know what I'm going to do with that yet. So, and I need to do something. My little beautiful balloon flowers just laid down, so I need to stake it up or do something with it. So there's just always something to do in the garden, more than you can get done. But today I'm just kind of enjoying the beauty of it and the fact that I got to enjoy this time, even though I can tell by the temperatures and the humidity that it's about over. We'll have to go back to the strong summer heat. But we had this, amazingly, we had this beautiful end of June weather. Oh, look, this morning I realized that I do have some of the double pink and yellow Purslane Moss. It's blooming this morning and looking great. And that little alyssum that I planted from seed is looking great also. Pretty pink Purslane Moss that's single is looking good too. Look how this pretty little begonia has grown and filled out, and it's got these sweet little blooms on there. Please be sure to like and to subscribe to the channel.